It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barron County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Football season is over. We'll get to that. This is James Brown, John Butler, Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, and also Kelsey Kirkpatrick here to talk to us about the Glasgow Lady Scotties basketball team. Before we got on, and this was going to be my first question to you, your team's not young anymore, even though you still, do you have one senior?
We have two seniors.
Yeah.
I told them right after district tournament last year, I sat them down in the locker room before everybody split off for their breaks. You know, we're not young anymore. It doesn't matter if you're labeled an 8th grader in KHSAA or not. Like, everybody's old enough to understand now, and the younger ones that are now juniors and seniors, they've been through it long enough to know the expectation and how they need to play and hold themselves accountable.
And I guess last season, I mean, there was probably a season that before it started, maybe during the summer, you thought, well, you know, we've got some younger players. They've played quite a bit, though, and so we should be much better. But you had some players that ended up not deciding not to play, some that had gone to different schools. And so you still ended up with a batch of very young players that you ended up relying on instead of some of the more experience you thought you were going to have. But I guess on the upside, one of those players, Kylie Green, has decided to come back and play.
That's right.
And then you still have your 3 core juniors that have been around. And then Addison Norris, who ended up playing quite a bit last year because of that situation. So she's one of your seniors. She's going to bring back some experience. And so I guess you kind of have to look at this team and say, we have the parts that we need now, and everybody's been in the system long enough that hopefully they know what we're trying to accomplish.
Right, and, you know, I said this last night, you know, after season ended, I kind of did some self-reflection, some team reflection. I watched some film to see where our biggest struggles were on offense and defense, and, you know, knowing what we have back and what we have this year, just being in the gym with them this summer and preseason, what we needed to work on, and that's been the main key focus, especially this past month and a half. Like, for instance, on offense, if you watch their games, we take some bad shots sometimes, and it's not that they're selfish kids. It's just that, you know, they get so tired they don't know what to do with the ball, and instead of passing and cutting, which would be the easiest option, you know, let's just throw up a shot in hopes that it goes in or in hopes that we get a rebound. So we've really been working on the basics of offense, of pass, cut, move without the ball, and don't just stand. If you stand longer than 3 seconds, you're wrong. That's been what we've been telling them the most, and you know, Saturday will be a test for us, our first scrimmage, so hopefully, you know, we start to see that put in place.
Well, I guess another question is, when you have young players, maybe even they may be competitive, but they may not understand how to be serious about the game. You know, they still maybe think of themselves as, I'm not mature, I'm not the leader of the team because I'm only a freshman in high school or whatever, or 8th grade, or even a sophomore. And I guess maybe that's one of the things that I think the last couple of years maybe was a deal, is your players, it wasn't that they weren't serious about being basketball players, they just didn't know how to be competitive at a high school level, maybe mentality-wise. Is that something that you've kind of been harping on as well?
Oh, absolutely. Competitiveness is something that we talk about every day as well, whether it's let's compete to see who finishes first in a race or who can score the most buckets in a shooting drill. I try to challenge them within themselves, like if we're doing a layup drill, how many layups can you make in a minute? The next go around, can you beat that time, or can you beat that scoring record? But it is crazy, like, to think about, because I've known these kids for so long, but they are really competitive kids, but once they see one thing go wrong, it kind of just pushes them back 2 steps instead of forward. And you know, like, that's just a mindset that I want to help them overcome. Like, you're going to make a mistake. You're not perfect. It's just not going to happen. Like, there's going to be some things that you can't just shut down about. But I think that's where Addison and Hannah's done a very, very good job in practices, as well as Kayla, Jordy, and Jakali, of making sure the younger ones have been, you know, held accountable and making sure that they go to the next play instead of staying where they're at.
Right. John?
Well, just looking at your roster and everything and watching you play last year, you don't have a lot of size.
Right.
But you do return some quickness. I mean, you have a lot of players who, Jacali Green, I know is quick, and Lightfoot and players like that. So you do have some quickness. Are you going to try to combat your lack of size, maybe defensively with a little bit with some ball pressure and things like that? Which, one of the things that can help shooting confidence is get some turnovers and make easy shots that way. So I assume that's probably part of the plan a little bit.
Absolutely. I've told them that defense leads to offense. Let your defense reflect so well that it just flows into your offense. I told them that our main goal this year should be getting good stops and pushing in transition. You are a fast team, but you have to use your quickness. Like,
right.
You can't just rely on, I'm fast, and then not sprint that play. We've talked about examples of that, and I don't like to talk to them much about whenever I used to play, just because I don't want them,
Sure.
take it in one ear out the other. But whenever I was in high school, we didn't really have many posts. Like, we had Kaylin Bobby, and that was truly the only post we had. The rest were guards, and we had to use that to our advantage against bigger teams. And back then, that was Glasgow, So when you're small and you're facing that Shalika Smith and Bree Glover, like, how do you overcome that? Well, you got to get the ball, push transition, and get some stops. So that's definitely like our approach this year, is trying to find those ways to cause turnovers and be little hecklers to push it in transition.
I like that. Little hecklers.
Hecklers, yes. That's. I think I like that too. I think that's her new name.
There you go.
That's a good way to describe them.
It would be the little heckler defense that you call out there, right? I was looking at your schedule here, and you guys open on the road at Somerset, and then you're going to be against Greenwood, going to play Bowling Green, and then turn around and play in that State Farm Regional 4th Region Challenge over at Bowling Green. I think that's Russellville you're playing there. Is that right?
Yeah.
So when you look at that opening, couple of weeks of your schedule, I mean, what do you want to see from your team right out of the gate?
I tried to keep it the same as what we've had in the past, just to see where we're at. Like, Can we improve? Can we grow? And it's not as much of a win-loss. Obviously, I want to win every game that we go into. I hope the girls have that same mindset. But it's not about December for me. I want them to worry about every game, absolutely, and I'm not going to let them overlook anybody. But, the biggest thing in the bigger picture is the district tournament and how we can perform. So seeing what we need to work on early against big teams like that, I think it's going to help us in the long stretch. And it's not on there, but that 2A tournament takes place right after that State Farm Challenge. We got the first week bye, so that's kind of why we have that gap between Greenwood and Bowling Green. And it was
you'll play either Franklin, Simpson, or Warren East, I think is the way it works.
I think
out.
that Franklin or Edmondson, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think I could be wrong.
All right.
But we ended up getting the bye that first round of the 2A, so that's why there's such a big gap, and it was too late to try and pick somebody up at that point. But.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the district. I mean, your first district game will be at Warren East on December 18th. And, I mean, how do you think the district shapes up this year?
I think it's still going to be tough. Great coaches in our district and great players that I've seen throughout. Warren East, they lost their starting 5 last year, but that doesn't really mean anything. The seniors that they lost left a good statement for the younger ones to follow, and Coach Neville will do a great job bringing them up. So it's not that you can overlook anybody in your district based off who they lost. It's how can you compete with what they have.
Right. John?
Yeah, I was just your schedule. The thing that I like about the schedule, especially early in the year, is that it's you don't have a gimme game, but these are games that you definitely can compete with and win. And I do think coming off last year that probably an early win somewhere early in the season, confidence-wise, would probably be really, really good for you and so forth. And I do think you have games on that schedule where you can get to that, and especially with I think the addition of Jacali Green really helped you, because I believe 2 years ago she averaged like 12 points a game.
Yep.
And one of the things that was missing last year was kind of consistent scoring. So you add her, and with Kayla, and I thought Reese England had a good year for you last year.
Yep.
So that I always think defense is so important, but kids won't to score.
Right.
They want to see.
Oh, yes.
They want to see the scoreboard, and it didn't even have to be themselves, but just that the score continuing to score. I think helps your defense because it brings. I always thought that scoring, making a three here or making a good play here, brings energy to your defense and so forth.
Yes, I agree, and like I said earlier, we don't have a selfish team. Like I'll see them cheering for each other. Like you said, it doesn't matter who scores. It's just they want to see that scoreboard go up, and I agree. You know, it's a positive, it's a boost, and they're quick to pick each other up and cheer each other on. This is actually the first year I got to make the schedule just because of all the good contracts and everything that lay over. So, you know, like I said, it's not. I don't think it's an easy schedule by no means. There's nobody on our schedule that you can just flat out overlook. But it's teams that I know this team can compete with, and if they want the win, they're gonna have to fight for it, and that's what I want them to do.
Real quick before we get back to your schedule, I'm looking here. You have 9 players on this roster that was online, I think, on the Arbiter Live. Is this a case where you've got some middle schoolers that'll come up when their season is over with, or is this your 9, or is this you have some more that you just aren't on here yet?
This is our 9 that we've had. There's one more that hasn't been added to Arbiter yet. Maddie Sheldon, she's a freshman.
Okay.
And then there's potential for some to come up. It's just it's on them. You know, I've been to some middle school games, see what they can do, and once their season's over, they'll come up and play some freshman JV, and you know the opportunity's there. It's just if they want it. You know, like they'll have to work for it and push each other, and I'm excited for them.
Yeah. Does that concern you, the lack of depth? I mean, John doesn't believe you should play more than like 7 unless you have to. So I mean, is that something that you think about?
I said you can handle 7.
That's right.
So,
Okay.
You can handle 7.
I mean, he'll play 10 if he's got 10, but for the most part.
7's enough.
Now, I definitely like the numbers just because, you never know, like, injury and sickness and all that. Like,
yeah.
I'm not a fortune teller. I can't read minds, and I can't see what the season has in store. I hope everyone stays healthy across the board, but I do like to feel comfortable with that 15, but, the opportunity's there. It's just if they want to go after it.
Right.
Got some scrimmages coming up?
Yep, we got Central Hardin here on Saturday at 12, and then the next Saturday we'll go to Grayson County.
Okay. And then it's not on the schedule, but you do have a Christmas-era tournament that you're playing at Edmonson County. When is that?
I might have the dates wrong. I hope not. 29th.
Okay, so it's after
28th,
Christmas.
29th, 30th. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Did you guys play over there last year or 2 years ago?
We played over there 2 years ago.
Okay. And then I guess the rest of your schedule, you mentioned that 2A thing because Glasgow's not in the 1A, but your post-Christmas schedule, you're talking about the teams. I mean, you've got Hart County on there, Adair County, South Warren, Warren Central, Metcalf, Apollo, Monroe, Marion County down here on February 12th. That's interesting. But when you mentioned making this schedule and you were trying to find, I guess, teams that you were trying to be able to, I guess, gauge your team against headed toward the postseason. Is that what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, and it was just kind of based off how other, like, teams that we hadn't seen before and wanted to see this year. Teams that it's not in our region, I wanted to add a little bit more to, just because we know a lot of teams in this region. We've played them the past 2 years. We get to watch them, scout them, and it's not that I'm trying to get away from the region. It's just to add more experience to our team. What does other teams do that we can maybe adjust ourselves to doing before postseason does come? Marion County might throw stuff at us that we've not seen in a long time, and that was just kind of my approach on how we can structure that and handle adversity. I
guess this is just a general coach question for kind of both you guys as coaches, but does it make it more interesting for you as a coach to add teams to your schedule that you've not seen, so that you kind of have an opportunity to watch those teams, see what they do, and kind of it makes it more interesting for you to try to prepare for these teams versus playing the same ones over and over?
Honestly, I love the game of basketball. I could watch it all day long. I love watching what other teams do. I learn from coaches every day, and I'm not too proud to say that. Like, I'll see something that I like, and I'm like, yeah, I need to add something like that to mine. I say adding some of these teams that I know we've not seen, probably more so like Apollo and Marion County, just teams that are out there that we've not got to watch play. Just seeing what they do and how they adjust to things. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Anything else, John?
No, I just wish I wish you the best of luck, and look forward to watching it. And I do think with the players you got coming back and things like that, and plus the experience that these guys have gone through the last couple of years, I think it's going to really, really help you this year.
I do too. Thank you. I appreciate it, and thank y'all for having me.
Yes, ma'am. That's been Kelsey Kirkpatrick, Glasgow Lady Scotties basketball coach, and here to talk to us about the upcoming season. This is the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. James Brown, John Butler, thank you to Kelsey Kirkpatrick for coming in here and talking to us about the Glasgow Lady Scotties. Looking to bounce back this season. I think they'll be much better. Just getting the experience and getting Jakayla Green back and just the general. I think they're just got an all around better setup this year. So I guess we'll see on Saturday when they have their first scrimmage. But meanwhile, the high school football season, honestly, John, came to a surprising end for the Glasgow Scotties on Friday night.
Yeah, I don't think that's we could have anticipated. I mean, Union County was good enough, and Union County has been a really good program the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair to say that Glasgow at 11-0 and hosting was the favorite.
Yeah.
But listen, there's a lot of circumstances that went into that 10-7 loss.
Right.
And one of the big ones obviously was when Hudson Gunn went out in the first half. You know, that's when you lose your starting quarterback, especially a starting quarterback who's had such a good year like Hudson. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's not the only reason, because I really thought Trace England that came off the bench, if you just watched the game, or I had a Western game, but I watched the film the next day. If you watched him play, I thought Trace England played pretty good.
He did.
He didn't play. He made some throws that should have been caught that could have made a big difference. So I don't want to just throw all of it that, they lost Hudson, which was a big factor.
Yeah.
But there were other issues as well. Overall, tough loss. Defensively, they were tremendous, but just not enough offense. Only 114 yards for the game.
Well, and going back to you bring in the backup quarterback. It doesn't matter who they are for the most part. That first drive, I thought, was a bit of a struggle, and I don't think it necessarily had anything to do with Trace himself. It's just that you got a different guy back there with the starting unit. He usually plays with the JV
Watch
unit.
all the backups that come in the NFL.
Yeah, right.
Not the backups who've had a week of practice with the first team.
Yeah, have been called out there in that game. Yeah,
just come in, and it's really, really tough. But
and I thought that was a bit of a thing, and then I think Glasgow tried to go to some different stuff that they'd used earlier in the season.
They ran a Wildcat.
Yeah, and put Jarek and Jalen Bradley in the backfield and try to do some things there, and it worked for a little bit. But you're right, Trace had a couple of passes in the fourth quarter that caught. It's a different game. And then, you turn around and you mentioned the 114 yards. Well, part of it is Union County had the ball for 32 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they're very run-oriented, ball-oriented. I mean, they like to run the clock, though. They didn't get a lot out of it either.
No.
They kept the ball, but Glasgow defensively was great. So was Union County. They were really, really good too. But, it just comes down to a play here or a play there. When it's a 10-7 game, Glasgow had a touchdown called back.
Right.
That's obviously a big play.
Right.
In the first half. And it was, is one of those where, those are hard to stomach. It's one of those kind of those wide receiver kind of screen plays or whatever. I will say that the guy that made the call was the guy on the Glasgow sideline, and that's that's normally, I've always little dubious when it's caught on the other sideline,
Right.
and it was down the field where the block was,
Yeah.
so it wasn't 40 yards away from the field. So
No, it was not a bad call.
Yeah,
But it was just one of those. You don't get a whole lot of chances in a game like that.
That's correct. You don't get a lot out of it, but it was. I think disappointing is a fair thing. Listen, they had an outstanding year.
Yeah.
When you go 11-1 and 11-0 in the playoffs, eventually you're probably going to lose,
Right.
unless you're St. X or Trinity, or so it's going to.
Yeah. At some point in time, you're going to run the Christian Academy of Louisville.
You're going to run into somebody that's arguably just much better.
Yeah.
This is probably not the case.
No.
This is Union County's not much better. If you can probably argue Glasgow's better, but there were things that happened in the game, and that's part of football. To be
Right.
honest with you.
Well, and it's kind of a curious situation. This is Coach Arnett's first season, and I really thought you could tell some of the things that he learned at Boyle County while he was an assistant there, in between his time as a head coach at Barron County and his first year at Glasgow, in terms of maybe how they organize things, maybe the weight training program, because I did not expect Glasgow's defense to be that good this year. I expected their offense to be pretty good this year, but that defense was much better than I expected it to be. And I think that was true for a lot of people. And obviously some of the things they do, we talk about the offensive side of the ball, but a lot of the stuff that they did at Glasgow since Arnett took over and his assistants were very good for the defense. And the defense was great all year long. It was the number one defense in Class 3A.
Yeah.
And
They were. The most points they gave up was to Franklin.
Yeah.
Gave up 28, and that was in
a double overtime.
That's right. So they was really good. And just a shout out, just for example, Friday, Trey Smith had 18 tackles.
Yeah.
And Grayson Bartley, Lyndon Martin had 11. So they were just one play away, or to pulling off not an upset, but to overcoming a big loss in Hudson Gum. But they just couldn't sustain it. And you have to, they did change what they did offensively, because they ran a whole lot of that Wildcat, which is a direct snap to one of the backs, Jarek Martin or I think it was Jalen Bradley. And in fact, their first touchdown was because of that.
Yeah.
But the longer they did that, they would break off. They'd get a couple good gains, and then basically they'd be shut down and so forth. And sometimes they would rush the backup quarterback. I've gone blank. Trace England. He'd have to come in on probably a true passing down, which is even harder when they know you're going to throw, which puts a lot of pressure on him. But, I thought, the one throw in the fourth quarter, about 35, 40 yards down the sideline, was a great throw.
Yeah.
Just, didn't connect. Like I said, disappointing end to a really, really good season. Did the lack of probably close games throughout the year, did that matter? I don't know I don't know. I was worried about it the whole time. I thought the Franklin game probably helped them. Losing the quarterback kind of muddles everything up. I don't really know if it matters or not.
It's hard to decide the course of the season whenever you lose your quarterback in a game like that.
That's correct.
And if Hudson Gum's out there in the second half,
they're not running a lot of Wildcat.
Yeah, they're going to stick to their offense, and at some point in time, you figure it's going to pay off, because at some point in time, just like on the touchdown that was called back, I mean, basically it was a screen to Jalen. It was a wide receiver screen to Jalen, and he beat a defender, and then he just outran everybody. And at some point in time, something was going to click, and you just knew it was. But once you start having to make up things on the fly, even if you've practiced some of them, even if Trace England is the best potential backup quarterback there is, you're still talking about rhythms being off, snap rhythms, voice, just the way the voice sounds, and just the plays that you probably feel comfortable calling as a coach, because he's the JV quarterback, and
he didn't get the practice reps.
Yeah, that's right. He's not practicing with those guys, and so those things are going to happen no matter what. So, like you're saying, we could look back at the weakness of the schedule, which in a lot of ways has nothing to do with them. The district was just weak this year.
That's correct.
I mean, Hart County went to Murray and got beat, I think, 42-6 or whatever it was. So the district was just weak this year, and there's not a whole lot you can do in a 5-team district.
5-team, that's right. That means you got 4 games.
Yeah. So you can't fill in some of your gaps with tougher opponents.
And Union County was solid. I mean, that running back was good.
Willem McPeak.
McPeak, he was a good player.
He was also their best defender. And going back to that Wildcat after they scored that touchdown, from what I saw, Union County basically put him at strong safety and just let him spy the run. Jarek had 2 big runs that it looked like he was going to be gone, and that dude managed to make the tackle on him.
Unless you got something in your playbook out of the Wildcat, like there's some type of throw out of the Wildcat, then teams are just going to sell out on the run.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what you're going to do and so forth. But
were there some other games in the area that you paid attention to Friday night?
Well, this is about the only game in the area. I mean,
True.
I mean, everybody else is kind of out.
Yeah. Monroe was playing at Lexington Christian.
Yeah, I never thought that was going to be close. That was a blowout.
Right.
Bowling Green easily handled Apollo.
Yeah.
South Warren easily handled
Hopkinsville.
So, to be honest with you, not a lot of close. This is probably the biggest upset without knowing the facts. This is probably one of the bigger upsets.
Surely everybody who looked at the score said that was I can't believe that happened.
Right. But if you dive into it, you could tell it's not that big of an upset. But no, not a whole lot of competitive games in this area.
No, they still weren't in the second round of the playoffs. A lot of competitive games,
and it normally is, but not really.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe Logan County's 35-0 win at Elizabethtown was the most impressive win to me.
Maybe. I don't know.
Just because it's on the road, and Logan County is better than Elizabethtown, but I thought it would be a more competitive game than that. But, you never know. I guess Logan County has turned out to be a much better team than I realized they were at the beginning of the season.
I think they've lost one or 2 games all year.
Yeah, they lost to Paducah Tillman, I think, and that game was like 35-28.
And to South Warren, I believe, right?
That's right.
At the end of the year.
They close out with
so
loss
that's
South
their 2
Warren.
losses, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Greenwood was not real competitive against Owensboro.
Yeah, it was close early, but Owensboro just ran away from them.
Right.
I mean, Owensboro really is good.
They got a big-time quarterback.
Yeah, they do. Anything else in the high school football, John?
No, now they moved to third. Now it's the RPI takes over.
Yeah, it's the RPI round.
It's the RPI round.
Some people call it a regional, but it's not really.
That's correct.
It's just an RPI. All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
John, you called me Saturday morning, and you were, by the way, we're back now, and we'll also be back next week. I don't know why I said that at the end of this last segment. But anyway, John, you called me Saturday morning, and you were downtrodden, and I thought you were downtrodden because of the Louisville loss to Clemson.
No.
But that wasn't it.
No, I was kidding. Yeah.
But that wasn't it. But I bet you were a bit downtrodden about that Louisville loss to Clemson because, I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row. Louisville was in the perfect position to be the ACC representative in the playoffs, or at least have a shot to get into that playoffs, and they've blown it 2 weeks in a row.
They've lost 3 games, all at home, 2 in overtime, and 1 by 1 point to Clemson. And just you're talking about just giving away a great year. That's exactly what they've done. They had 3 or 4 personal fouls, just horrible penalties.
Yeah.
They lost 20-19, and they missed an extra point and missed 2 field goals.
Right.
And they missed. Clemson fumbled a punt with about a minute and a half to go. Mm-hmm. Louisville had 3 timeouts, so they went ahead and punted, and Louisville was down 1, and they dropped the punt, and Louisville got it at the Clemson 30-35, and proceeded to lose yards through penalties and then miss the go-ahead field goal.
Yeah.
Clemson just gave them the ball in the right spot, and Louisville still couldn't do it. I think it's a combination of just discipline, and I love Jeff Braun, but the penalties are a major problem.
Right.
And I think he's lost faith in his quarterback, to be honest with you. He's
There was some post-game stuff that made it sound like that was the case.
His play calling, I don't think he has a the quarterback is, transfer from USC, but to me sometimes doesn't have the feel for it,
he looked great early in the season.
Early in the year, but when there's pressure in the pocket, get rid of it, scramble, do something. You can't take sacks to move you out of field goal position and make it, things. He just does a lot of those things, and it just it's really, really disappointing. I think, the Clemson game was kind of the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
They had already kind of blown it when they lost the 2 overtime games at home. And the Clemson game was, a very mediocre Clemson.
Yeah.
And had just an opportunity to win it. And now it's not out of the question they could lose 4 straight because they've lost 2 straight.
Yeah.
Clemson and Cal. And now they go to SMU, who's good.
Oh, yeah.
And now the real wild card is Kentucky, who's gotten who's kind of gotten hot. And Stoops is probably is probably safe. Kentucky, who's won 3 straight, beat Auburn at Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech is a division below, but they were 10-0. But how they beat them, they handily beat them.
Yeah.
And Kentucky goes to Vanderbilt this week, and then finish with Louisville. Louisville could easily lose, their last 5.
Yeah. They are they've gone from being in control of their destiny to just absolutely blowing that, and now possibly just having a season where people look around and start asking other questions that they weren't asking.
Well, they could win their next 2. I mean, they can go down and beat SMU.
Yeah.
It seems like when they're back against the walls when they play the best.
Yeah. They're not good front runners.
They're not. So they could go to beat SMU. They lost to SMU last year. They could go down there. It's a tough place to play. And then they have Kentucky at the end of the season. Who would have thought a month ago a month ago, it looked like Louisville would be a 18, 19-point favorite.
Yeah.
And who knows, they'll probably be – Louisville's still going to be the favorite 2 weeks from now. I don't care what happens.
Right.
If Kentucky could upset Vanderbilt and Louisville lose to SMU, Louisville's still going to be a favorite. But that number has gone from 18 to probably anywhere between 3 and 5 now.
Yeah. And 3 weeks ago, basically, we were looking at that Kentucky-Louisville game and saying, well – basically, Kentucky's in a position just to spoil Louisville's season is what they were in.
Right.
And now they're in a completely different position. And I don't necessarily expect Kentucky to beat Vanderbilt, but I would not be surprised at this point if they did.
I would be surprised for this reason, that Vanderbilt, who's best Vanderbilt team they've had in years and years and years, with a big-time quarterback, they're coming off a bye. And I think that really helps Vanderbilt playing at home. Though Kentucky, confidence-wise, is so much more. I still think Vanderbilt will be I
think they're a better team.
I do too. I think they're a solid favorite. It would be a big upset for Kentucky to win on the road at Vandy. But Kentucky's playing with a lot of confidence, and they found a lot of confidence in their young quarterback.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Meanwhile, WKU, they beat Middle Tennessee. They are in the position to maybe make the Conference USA Championship game. I was looking today, I think it was Jeff Nations with the Bowling Green Daily News was pointing out if there's a 3-way tie at the end because Kennesaw State and WKU didn't play each other, then even if WKU beats Jacksonville State, they could wind up the odd one out just because of the way the conference schedule worked out. But hopefully that's not the case. They're in pretty good position, though.
Speaking of freshman quarterbacks, it looks like WKU's found one.
Yeah.
In this Tisdale kid. He came in middle of the year. Was not the original starting quarterback and put up big numbers.
Yeah, Maverick McIver has lost his job.
He has, and first by injury, but now Coach Helton's not taking this kid out. This Tisdale kid's played great, and he put up. I think WKU had close to 700 yards against Middle.
It was 672 or something like that. It was over 200 rushing. And
way up there.
Yeah. It was the best rushing day that WKU's had under Helton as a coach.
And this is the payday. They go to LSU Saturday night, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably about a $2 million payday, which is big. And all of a sudden, do I think Western would beat LSU? No, I don't. But the game would probably be a lot more competitive than LSU's had a down year.
Yeah, lots has happened there.
Another SEC coach fired, and
right.
it's Western clearly going in better in terms of, I don't know what, culture or momentum-wise and so forth, with absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're at LSU, what do you have to lose either? You're
Right.
You're really just kind of playing the string out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a far different situation than usually when WKU plays an SEC team. It's in terms of nobody's going to pick them to win, in the grand scheme of things, but I think there would be plenty of people, if they manage to stun LSU down there, people might look around and go, well, that's just a cap on the season for the Bayou Tigers.
It's a great opportunity for them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the NFL, what's up with Patrick Mahomes? I think is he done, John?
At 28, 29, I don't think so. No, they're 5-5. The team is not as good as they've been. I mean, they won all these incredible one-score games last year. They went 15-2, but if you just look at how they were squeaking by barely, this and that, and oftentimes when that happens, it reverses the next year. You just can't continually win those type of games, and they've got some players who are kind of aging out, to be honest with you. And Mahomes is not one of them.
No, Travis Kelsey though,
who didn't play bad the other day, but John, one of their better defensive linemen, that
Chase Jones,
not Chase,
no.
it's a Jones,
Chris Jones,
yes. And they've just a little aged out a little bit, and so forth. They could use a dynamic running back, but they're losing close games.
Right.
They're still a team that can. Right now, they're not in the playoffs. They're not going to win their division, but they can still get in to the playoffs, and they would be a very, very dangerous team if they got into the playoffs. But it's they're not as good. No.
I wouldn't put anything past them in the postseason because you just have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and it's one of those. It's like the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. I believe them until it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but they got to get in.
Yeah, they got to get in.
They're not in yet.
And here's the thing. In the AFC, I don't know which team is the best team because the Bills can't stop the run even though they win games. The Ravens aren't good, but they may win their division.
Well, the Ravens are getting good.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly yesterday against the Browns. I mean, I know the Browns'
everybody
defense is good.
struggles against Cleveland at Cleveland.
That's true.
Their defense is big time.
Yeah, their defense is really good, and it makes everybody look pretty bad.
Yeah, they're a dangerous team.
We did learn yesterday why Shedeur Sanders has not started.
Well, it's also another one of the dumb things that coaches do, in my opinion. It was learned after the game, and the coach admitted that Shedeur Sanders had not taken one snap with the first-string offense since July.
Yeah.
And he's the backup quarterback.
Yeah, they've weeded through 4 quarterbacks, and
so when he does go in, all of a sudden, it's like I don't understand how you can go a week of practice. As a basketball coach, there's not a situation where my backup point guard would not be getting practice reps.
Yeah.
Ever, because quarterbacks are going to get hurt, and you're going to have your backup quarterback step in. So to have no reps ever makes no sense to me. In fairness to Shedeur, now do I think Shedeur? Something's going on. I mean, it doesn't make sense about a lot of things with Shedeur. But I'll give him a pass when you haven't had thrown to any of the receivers in 6 months, and then you get thrown in against a pretty good defense. I'll give him a pass on that one.
Yeah, his coaches have done him no favors.
No, he's not.
And it's almost as if they're just trying to prove the point.
I
don't know
weird.
why they drafted him at this point, to be honest.
There is a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the disconnect is.
Yeah. And so right now in the AFC, I don't know who I would pick.
I'd go Denver. Indianapolis, I think, is for real.
Yeah, their offense is really good. They've got probably the best player outside of Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think those two, and then I think the next 3 are Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City.
Yeah.
But Baltimore and Buffalo are not in the playoffs right now.
Yeah. So in the NFC, is it the Eagles clearly the best team?
Clearly? No, they don't score enough.
Well, their defense may be the best defense, but yes, you're right. That offense it's kind of like the Ravens in a way.
And they have a fractured something's not doesn't fit royal either. I think the Rams are really good.
I do too, which is kind of weird because I can't tell you why.
Well, their quarterback and their coaching.
Yeah.
And that's generally the hierarchy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have picked that the coach has been good, the quarterback has been good, but
Yep.
there's something about them that they seem to be around there every year, but I just don't. It's I never really think they're going to make it.
Defense is really good.
Yeah.
I like those two teams. I think Seattle's good. They lost yesterday to the Rams, so that's not a knock against them. I like those two. I still think Detroit has something in them too.
Yeah. It's turned out that there's not a clear best team in the NFL this year.
Probably true. Everybody has a weakness for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, some teams do one, like you said. I mean, the Bills are a good team, but they can't stop the run. And if they were to run into, I don't know, the Ravens in the playoffs, if the Ravens are there, and
they've already beaten them once, but it was like 45-42.
Yeah, so that was a game the Ravens should have won, but nonetheless,
probably Indianapolis is a tougher matchup. With
I'd say
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, and their offense clicks pretty well.
Right.
Anything else on the NFL or college football before we get out of this segment?
No, I mean, who would have thought Indiana would still be undefeated, number 2 in the nation?
Not me.
That's right.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag. James Brown, John Butler, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
James, it's pitch dark. It's 4:50.
Isn't it? It's a black hole out there around the Barron County Courthouse. We had a college basketball game last Tuesday that seemed to have come out of the blue because it's usually played around Christmas, but it was played the second week of the season, that being Louisville and Kentucky men's basketball. And Louisville won the game 96-88, is that what it was? But but really had the lead. I think it was an 18-0 run in the first half that Louisville had. And then never gave up the lead. Kentucky got within 4, maybe once, and 5 or 6. Just could not close the gap. Both teams actually shot the ball pretty well, I thought. It was an exciting game to watch if you're just like watching exciting basketball, John.
Yeah, it's a good win. Obviously, if you're from the Louisville side, it's a good win. They hadn't had a lot of them against Kentucky in the last so many years, so that was a good one. Louisville can score.
Yeah,
golly, the freshman guard Brown he's big time. He's a one and done type of guy, and it's rare in the last, I think it's fair to say, 15 years that Louisville's had the best player on the court.
Yeah, that's for certain.
And they've had the best, Kentucky with all those draft picks. Outside of Donovan Mitchell who played at Louisville, Kentucky's always had the best, arguably 2 or 3 players. Mm-hmm. Louisville had the best player. And they are, I tell you what, they can flat score. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I know that Coach Pope was very disappointed defensively and this and that, but Louisville's going to score against a lot of people.
It was interesting, too, because you mentioned the fact that they can flat score. It wasn't like Kentucky wasn't guarding a lot of these situations.
They got lost
in made shots.
They did. But transition early. Louisville just beat them down the floor.
That run, they got them out of sync.
They did. But listen, it's early in the season. Kentucky, it's going to be – Kentucky's really good. They're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Louisville is going to be really good. I think you're probably looking at 2 teams that are going to be strong candidates if the right people stay healthy to reach a Sweet 16 Final Four. Mm-hmm. I think it's very much on the table for both teams.
I do think they are both –
Final 8, Final Four. We'll go there.
I do think both teams are really capable on offense. I guess what'll be curious is when as the season goes along, it'll be interesting to see, like in the SEC, how Kentucky matches up with like an Alabama or somebody who they have to figure out how to stop at some point in time. Mm-hmm. And I suppose I don't know exactly who that would be in the ACC for Louisville, but I mean obviously there are plenty of good teams there. I mean, I guess Duke. They'll have to figure out how to stop some of these teams, and it'll be curious January. You know what I mean? Defensively, I think how both teams are playing.
That's right, and you would expect both teams. If it's like normal, both teams should be better in January than in November.
Right.
You would think that's the kind of the natural improvement.
Yeah, and the thing about this game being the second week of the season, I mean,
It's too early.
yeah, I mean the teams were
early.
going to do what they were capable of doing. They've not scouted each other. They've not tried to figure out. It turned into just another game.
Yeah, the only good thing about the time was it was a Tuesday in November, no football to compete against. I mean,
Right.
they had the whole,
The world
the
watching
whole world
around.
audience. That's correct, and played in front of like 20,000 people. So
Yeah.
they had that. It created that atmosphere and so forth.
Yeah. Early in this college basketball season, has anything else really stood out to you?
No, I mean, I watched Purdue go down to beat Alabama. That was
Yeah.
impressive.
I
After
just-
Alabama had beaten St. John's up in New York.
Right.
Purdue going down there. Purdue. Boy, they got those really good guards. They've been playing forever. They
Yeah.
always got a 7-footer and things
Yeah.
like that. They're really good.
Yeah, they got this one from like Cal State Fullerton or something. I don't remember where they got him
but
from.
the guards are 4-year players.
Yeah, right. The Smith kid, he's been there ever since. And, you know, when I was watching that game early on, I was like, there's no way Purdue's winning this game. But they just
You can't speed them up.
no, they're going to play the way they play.
You can't speed those guards up. That's
Yeah.
how good those guards are.
And you know, if you've got that, then you're not going to get the big man off the floor. That your guards can control the game, and so that actual side advantage does pay off.
Right.
And, you know, you're playing against Alabama, so you maybe think Alabama's length at some point in time, athletic ability will close the gap, but it didn't as the game went along.
It did not.
So I was pretty impressed by that. I thought, you know, when Kentucky played Purdue in that preseason scrimmage thing and won the game, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I don't know how Purdue ended up as the number one team in the nation in the preseason. Obviously, those things don't really matter, but I still didn't think they were going to be the best team out of the gate, but maybe they are.
Could be. Maybe.
On the women's side, you're doing the WKU women again this year, so you got to see the WKU women Friday night.
They're 2-2. They play Wednesday against Vanderbilt, who's a top 15 team in the country. That'll
Yeah.
be a big challenge. The girls WKU, they lost their point guard, Trinity Rowe.
Yeah,
She broke her hand and is out, and that's a huge loss.
yeah, she was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year last year, freshman of the year maybe.
Freshman of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, that's a tough loss. Hard to overcome when you're point guard that you're really depending on to score and handle the ball.
Yeah.
When they're out, that's tough. It's like losing your quarterback.
How many of those games are you doing this year?
All the home games.
Oh, really? Okay, well, good.
Yep.
Who do you do that with?
Different people.
Okay.
Yeah. Different ones.
Yeah, okay, I got you. And then the WKU men,
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've knocked off Tennessee Tech, Eastern, and Tennessee State. So they're off to a good start, 3-0.
Yeah,
They've got Vanderbilt coming up too, I think, in the Bahamas over Thanksgiving.
right. All right, well, the basketball season is here and almost here for high school basketball. Again, I want to thank Kelsey Kirkpatrick for joining us at the beginning of the show. Talk about the Glasgow Lady Scotties. This is Brown Sports Bag. James Brown, John Butler, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. This time, we will see you next week.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.